All right, we're going to start this call as people join, but I wanted to get this recorded. Say that again, Leo, what you just said. You just finished your call.
I just finished my call, a few minutes, 21 guests and 15, 16 consultants and 21 guests.
Fantastic.
Each Monday I have more guests than the consultant. That's fine.
That's better than fine. That's ideal. That's fantastic. Congratulations. Well, it's working, Leo. Whatever you're doing, keep doing it. We're just going to figure it out and catch up to you. That's all. Okay, well, welcome everybody to Aligning with Success. I thought I would share something. I was reviewing, because it's been a couple of weeks, I was reviewing my call from 2 weeks ago, just to see where we left off. And I thought, maybe we should expand on some of that, because I sort of went through the information, but never really got a chance to anybody to ask any questions. And I find there's always some help in that. But anyway, as I was doing that, I fast forwarded to the end just to figure out where did I leave off. So I put the YouTube straight toward the end, and I'm talking about the very last thing, faith. And I thought, I need a little bit of inspiration. So I reach over, pick up my handy dandy book, which is my Power of Awareness by Neville Goddard. And you can see there's a very thick mark. What do you call these? Bookmarks. And I just picked up and in the split second of my mind, I thought I would pick out the perfect page. So I opened the book. There's 195 pages in this book. So just open the book. And what is it that I'm looking at right at the book? I don't know if you can see that. This part of the book is called Faith. And what's interesting is there's only 4 pages to this whole chapter. Out of 195 pages, I landed on the center page of the 4-page chapter called Faith. When I was reviewing Faith, and I thought, I need some inspiration. That's called synchronicity. That's how it works. It's these things that sort of manifest themselves and jump out at you that you just wouldn't expect. But if you're operating faithfully, then it does work. So I'll definitely want to get back to this. But before we do, let's just talk about a few things. I don't know if you guys have gotten your copy yet. This is the mini catalog. Some of you have received it in the mail. Mm-hmm. So this is a really nice, they did a great job, by the way. I kind of like the mini better than the full-size version for whatever reason. I think it's just easier. Well, first of all, it's easier to mail. Anyway, these are available. The new Nikan Connect is now out. I put it out on the digital version. You can now order it online to why would you be doing that? Well, if you're sponsoring anybody, if you're encouraging anybody on your team, as I'm doing a mailer. And so I'm doing a monthly mailer. So I'm encouraging that behavior by doing what it is people do as you do, right? Not necessarily what you say, they do as you do. And I think that if they have these things in their hand, they're more likely to resource them and use them and share them. So that's one of the things I wanted to share. How many of you are using the 4-year career in any capacity? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, good. I kind of like this book because I'm in it. I thought that was Stanley. I just saw you.
All modesty aside.
all modesty aside. I am in it though. No, but seriously, it is a really good book as far as adding credibility to what it is that we do for people who are questioning it. You sort of preempt it by sharing it. And I think it's a great book to convert customers. I think that's one of the best uses of this book, is to take a customer who's a happy customer and help them see the light. Dawn, I'm gonna mute your call for whatever reason you're squirrely. Okay, so I did want to open this call up to maybe having a little bit more of a Q&A dialogue about what we talked about last week. And for those of you who didn't see last week or weren't on last week's presentation, call, whatever, the last half of that call, I think, was a really, really good call. I'm being modest. I think it was one of the best things I've ever done. And my daughter did a call this past week, which I think is one of the best calls she's ever done. For those of you who were on the Friday at 4 p.m. Eastern, it's been recorded. It hasn't been posted yet because Elaine Brewster's was traveling or is traveling, but it will get posted. And wow, what a doozy of a call. She was just humming. It took a while to get it going and they got the technical stuff out of the way, but man, did she ever hit some points. And I wrote some notes down and I called her back and I said, hey, honey, there's some stuff that you talked about I've never heard before. And that's just her synthesis of the information that she's been tapped into. So I'm going to talk about one of the points that really struck me that I think is quite important. And it really speaks to the idea of setting goals and lofty goals in particular. But since I did do this, for those of you who just joined us late, I was reviewing my video from 2 weeks ago, since it's been 2 weeks since we had this call. And I fast forwarded to the end of the video to see what was I talking about at the end. And I hit faith. That was the very last point I was making before our call ended. And I thought I needed some inspiration. So I reached over and grabbed my book, The Power of Awareness by Neville, and just opened it right to the page called Faith. Now, there's only 4 pages in the chapter of faith in this book, a book that's 195 pages. What are the chances, right? What are the chances that it hit the page on faith in 195 pages? Well, the answer is probably pretty good with me right now. Because if you're in harmony with everything that's in harmony with you makes itself available, and it's a perfect description of everything I'm talking about. And if you haven't read this book, oh man, you just got to get yourself a copy, called The Power of Awareness. Again, it's from Neville. Neville's no longer with us, but his works are, in fact, you can even find this online for free. You don't have to buy a book, but I like having it in my hand. All of his stuff is online. Let me just write this point right here. A miracle is the name given by those who have no faith to the works of faith. Is that brilliant? Faith is the substance of things hoped for, the evidence of things not seen, Hebrew. Now, he quotes a lot of biblical stuff because he tries to help us understand the secret of the ages, which were texts from, chapters, pages, expressions, things in the Bible that, when taken in the correct context, really shed light on the laws that apply here. He writes, the very reason for the law of assumption is contained in this quotation. If there were not a deep-seated awareness that which you hope for had substance and was possible of attainment, it would be impossible to assume the consciousness of being or having it. It is the fact that creation is finished and everything exists that stirs you to hope. And hope in turn implies expectation. And without expectation of success, it would be impossible to use consciously the law of assumption. Evidence is a sign of actuality. Thus, the quotation means that faith is the awareness of the reality of that which you assume. Consequently, it is the lack of faith, which means disbelief in the existence of that which you desire. So he goes on to give us all these other examples. He says the Bible is full of many statements about faith, the true meaning of which few are aware. Here is some typical examples. Unto us was the gospel preached as well as unto them, but the word preached did not profit them, not being mixed with faith in them that heard it. In other words, he's saying, even though people were given the information, they were not applying it. Now, I can kind of totally relate to that. Because how many of you have had this information? The question is, are you applying it? So I thought maybe today would be a little bit more about application and open up to some Q&A, because I think, let me just open up this page and share this screen with you, because the last thing we talked about was, sort of rush through it, was the idea of faith. My screen here was the idea of faith being the mechanism by which we can actually circumvent all the programs that are running on a subconscious level. And if we start to operate that way, then we can dismiss ideas and things that are not in harmony with that which we desire. And the thing that my daughter hit on that I thought, man, this is really, really solid. This is really good. If you remember, I talked about the A line and the C line. And let's put the B line in there as well. So there's the A line, the B line, and the C line. Most people, A line being your current results, C line being what you really, really want, your heart's desire. Most people only give themselves permission to explore the possibility of a modest change, like a small change in your check or in your volume, or a modest promotion in your rank, just a modest change in your life or your lifestyle. And that's what they believe, if they really try, they might be able to achieve. It's not what they really, really want. It's just something that they're willing to give a shot to. The problem with this, my daughter pointed out, is if you said something, for instance, oh, it would be okay if it was, it's not so bad that I got B instead of C. It's not so bad if I get, a little bit more. The problem with that is that it's easy to hit this gray area. And when you're in the gray area, the gray zone, you can't be as conscious of the thoughts that you might be harboring. If we're supposed to be faithful to what it is that we want, and we're not clear about what that is, and it's not significant like the C line, it's hard to figure out if you've fallen out of harmony with the thoughts. In other words, if your thoughts are really, if your consciousness, your desire, your wish, your want, your goal is really high, it's easy to tell when you're not thinking in alignment with that idea. I mean, it's instant. You can tell when you're off course. But if it's just a small shift in where you're at right now, in terms of your goals and expectations, it's much more subtle, and therefore much more likely for the subtle contradictory thoughts and feelings to mix in. And then you're not operating on faith. You're now simply operating on what's happening on the subconscious level without you even being aware. It's the idea of temperature. For instance, when we touch a very hot stove, man, you can tell it's hot. If it's warm, not so hot. You don't react as much. So if your goal is really high and you set your mind to it, and then you start operating on that frequency, you're going to notice really quickly when you're out of alignment with that frequency. You're going to, the thing is to catch yourself, right? When you get out of alignment. And if it's not high enough, you don't catch yourself. And if you don't catch yourself, the B pretty much merges into the A, and guess what? Your results really don't change very much. And that's what happens for most people. The A and the B starts to blur, and it just becomes the same old, same old. We start thinking and feeling the same way. That's why a modest change in your expectations is not going to do it. You need something that really energizes your system and puts you on enough of a gradient, enough of a steep hill that you can tell if you're on or off course. Make sense?
Mhm.
Any questions from any of the stuff that we talked about that you want me to maybe go over? Any questions you have? Like something specific that you're dealing with, How would you apply it in this situation?
I'm always
Okay,
reminded of
ahead.
Bob Proctor's talk one time. You got to want the sweater, right?
You gotta want the sweater. Yeah, you gotta want the sweater. But the thing is, figuring out what is the sweater you want,
Uh-huh.
and where does your zeal for life come from? When are you, this is an interesting question, because I had to ask myself this question. There was a period of time where I could easily be in the background. And there was a period of time where I was pretty much in the background. I would show up at the main events, do my thing, and disappear. People wouldn't hear from me because I was too busy ignoring everything. I sort of just backed out and just went quiet, but I made the public appearances, so I was able to hide behind that pretty well. And you know, during that time, I wasn't really the happiest person. In fact, I was pretty much not happy, regardless of the success. I show up on stage, I did my thing. Nobody really knew the real me behind the scenes. I was going through a struggle myself. And I discovered that when I'm happiest is when I'm in the middle of this, when I'm really engaged in my business is when I personally am happiest. So knowing what makes you happy, when are you happiest, is really important. And then to see how that might correlate to, you know, your involvement or your activity level in NECAN. Now, I can tell you my reasons. I can tell you why I'm happiest. It's the same reason I think my daughter is happy when she's doing her meditations online or whatever. She loves making a difference. And when she sees it through other people and their experience as a result of her contribution, that's when she's happiest. She gets the feedback that way. So if she's not doing that, she's not very happy. She hates doing problem sets for her university degree. I mean, she's like a month and a half away from graduating as an aerospace engineer. These last 2 months for her are the worst they've ever been. It's just a struggle for her because it's like pulling teeth every day to get through it because she sees absolutely no future there. That's not who she is in terms of a vocation. So I can understand we got into a place where we're putting people into school, educating them to become something else because they're not even getting jobs in their profession. It's like a small percentage of people actually end up doing that. So she's struggling, but regardless, the happiest you've ever been is when you are doing what? And you could boil it down to an activity. It doesn't have to be NECAN, but it could be a very specific thing. When are you the happiest?
Mike,
There's the two of you who've got your hands up. Okay, so Dawn and Barb. Go ahead, Barb.
I can apply it to, or give you an example of applying it to my personal life, which was last week. I spent a week in Vail skiing. And I had I've done a couple days the last couple of years, but not a full weekend. With COVID, I hadn't been going to the gym, just been doing my normal little things. And, but I had absolute conviction that I was going to have a wonderful week. Not only did I have a wonderful week in the ability to ski for 5 days, cover the whole mountain, ski the back bowls with absolutely no soreness, no knee problems, no muscle change. And I'm amazed, I mean, truly amazed, but I almost had to, to get someone to go with me because of COVID was this challenge. And I decided not to worry about it. I'm going to get there. And I had complete faith in the whole week, but I've surprised myself actually. So, I mean, to me, that's an example of something I really, really wanted to do. And I was very, very, very happy doing it. And of course, made connections the whole week and have some orders and all that good stuff. But my intent was to have a good time, be outdoors, forget about COVID, whatever. So.
Awesome. That's fantastic.
Mhm, mhm.
I'm gonna tie that back to something because I got a video I want to show you guys. Don Marie, you're gonna say something?
Yes, I would like to just piggyback off of what you were saying at the beginning about the faith and things really just being synchronistic. I find that I am my happiest when, as a new consultant with Nikin, when I see the results of my work and getting the customers to be appreciative of the product and getting them set up with this new product and making them aware of it. I just get so excited I can hardly talk. But over the weekend, I said I wanted to be able to get to the ocean, and I thought I would just drive to Berkeley, which I'm in California, and Berkeley is about maybe about an hour drive from here. And I put that out there in the universe. And a day later, I got a phone call from a girlfriend who said, I have a beach house down at the bay, and I want you to come down and spend the night with me. And I was like so excited about just putting it out in the universe and watching it come back so immediately. And like you said, when you're in harmony, things just come to you. And that's what I'm finding by being a part of this company, is that I am trying to get as much information as I can so that I can tell everybody that I know. And by me doing that, the results are just profound to me. And I just thank you all for your experience and sharing what you're sharing. And I love the faith part, because faith without works is dead. So thank you for sharing that.
Fantastic. Thank you. That's awesome. I think it's really, the application is really important, because my interpretation is, okay, so how did you apply that? When your frequency is up here, when you're operating at this frequency, you're going to draw all things to you that are in harmony with that frequency. And if joy is the frequency you're in, peace of mind is the frequency you're in, you're going to attract circumstances that embellish that. That's how it works. So if you have already an understanding of what those things are that you want, what you're defining is the lens through which that return is going to be. In other words, one of the books, the little green book, one of you will help me figure out, it was a little thin green book written by The Science of Getting Rich, written by Wallace D. Wattles. He gives a story about a janitor, and he's trying to make this illustration. Now, this janitor had hopes to be more than a janitor, but as a janitor, there's not a whole lot you can do. But the law says that you apply yourself as if you're going to be all that you want to be, regardless of where you're at right now, regardless of your current circumstances. If you heard my daughter's story, you'll hear her story. She was miserable working at that airplane factory. But the day she decided that she wasn't going to change the outside world, she was going to change the inside world and start believing in what she was feeling inside and what she was dreaming about inside. She was in two worlds, but living in one. The one she was living in was the one in her mind. All of a sudden, the external situation changed instantly. It was almost immediate, like your phone call. So if we put out to the universe how we want the universe to come back, how we want the energy to come back, the filter through which we want the energy to come back, where we put the energy in doesn't matter. It's energy into the system. So that janitor just had to be the best janitor he could be and be on a frequency of peace and joy and excitement to receive. And how did he receive? Somebody noticed the incredible work that he was doing, a person in a position of power and authority who could then invite him for an interview at his corporate offices. And that's how this janitor gets his promotion. So you don't know how it's going to come back. That's the mystery. The how is not our domain. Everybody says, oh, I don't know how. But good, because if you knew how, you'd be there already. And chances are then that would be a really boring existence. You don't want to know how, you just want to know what. What do you want to experience? The how is not your business. The how is in the domain of the unknown. You just need to know what it is how you want that information to come to you. What is it that you want to receive? Then you put everything you've got into what you're doing. Wherever you are, whatever you're doing, you put the energy into the system as though you already are the person receiving. And then the wires get connected in the universe somehow. The mystery of the law of vibration, the law of attraction, and then kaboom, boom, boom, and you get a phone call from like, what? That's amazing. And that's just the way it is. Now, if you can accept that and you start operating like that 24/7, then the only thing you really need to focus on is what you want now, and make it certain that it's something you really want, and then being faithful to the person you are as the person having received that. The only thing you have to really put energy in is to be faithful to that truth. You have to accept and believe in that truth. Now I want to come back to Barb's point, and I want to hear from more people. Barb, you said you were skiing, and you sent me a video. Barb sent me a little testimonial video. Did everybody see your testimonial video? Okay, so wait a minute. What does that got to do with Nikan? Well, it has everything to do with Nikan. If you understand the power of a story, if you understand the power of a testimonial, what was she doing? What she loves. What does everybody in the world want to be doing at any moment in time? What they love. And if they're observing somebody doing what they love, they become envious of that somebody doing what they love. They want to know, what's going on with this person? How come they get to do what they love? And so I want to show you something. This is my person I just sponsored in Nikan. This is actually a famous person in Canada. They've been on Entertainment Canada, as in E Canada. They've interviewed all the stars and so forth. This is his little piece, his first. He sent it to me just as an experiment to see, and I helped him put a little of the words together, but just this is what I'm talking about.
So I love to jog and I love to bike ride. And if it weren't for my Nikan knee wrap, which you can see right there on my right knee, I probably wouldn't be able to do these amazing outdoor activities. This thing is incredible. It's made of a biothermal technology which absorbs and releases a natural and soothing warmth that penetrates deep into your joints and muscles, which in turn makes them feel amazing. It simply melts away the stress and the tension. And if you have never tried this yet, please do yourself a favor. Click the link in my bio, head over to the site, and check out all of the items, including this super duper knee wrap from Nikan.
What do you think?
Love it.
Simple and effective, and it's personal, and people who know him are already responding to his post. He put that on his Instagram feed. That's Rick Campanelli, by the way, for those of you who want to look him up. Rick Campanelli is somebody who's very, very well known in Canada. Anyway, so the story captures, number one, he's doing something he loves to do, and he describes it. And he says, you know, if it wasn't for this, and he points to it, and it's like, I don't think I could be doing this. And if you're not trying, and he gives a little bit of information, it's like this biothermal thing, Bob, whatever. It was just really simple, and people can relate to, and it's interesting. And if they know him, or even if they don't, it's just interesting. That's a story. That's how you do it. Now, he's going to just keep posting these things, one a week. This next one's going to be about MagStep. I'm trying to get him to do the waterfall because it's like on special right now. So anyway, the point is, it's a personal experience. So he's going to talk about what he's having an experience with. And the knee wrap was one of the first things that really got him going. So this is a way to connect the dots in Nikan. Figure out what is it, what do you love? Do more of that. And you'll find that there's a connection. You'll be able to make the connection. So I'm asking you to think about when you have been the happiest, what have you been doing when you're happiest? what in principle, what is the idea behind what makes you tick? So any other thoughts or questions about this application? Again, I'm going to show you one of the things I got on my screen here, because I can get into this a little bit more in a little bit more detail if need be. The idea of how to, oh, there was one thing. And I talked about this in the last call. How do you get yourself out of the stinking thinking? Because that happens, right? First of all, again, if there's not a big gradient between where you're at and where you're heading, if there isn't that big gradient, it's going to be hard to catch yourself when you're in the stinking thinking. So if your goal is too small, it's not going to smack you in the head when you're out of alignment. So I'm going to first of all suggest you create a bigger goal. If your goal doesn't scare you, if you think you know how to achieve your goal, it's not a good goal. There's a guy that I follow, Cardone, I forget his first name. Some of you have heard his name. What is it?
Grant.
Grant, thank you. Grant Cardone, the 10 times guy. He talks about everything is, if you're not doing it 10 times of whatever you're thinking, then it's just not worth it. Why? Because what you have to become in order to achieve something tenfold of where you're at, there's absolutely no way you know how to do it. No way you know how to do it. So you have to move into a faithful state of mind, a faithful state of being, an anticipating state of being, because you know you don't know. And the only way you're going to achieve that is to have to innovate beyond anything you can reason. It goes beyond your ability to reason. Now, think about this for a second. I want you to imagine getting a check from Nikan 10 times bigger than the biggest check you've gotten. Now, I'm telling you, this is really interesting because I just had my first business call with my daughter and my niece. And we interviewed a new diamond from Latin America who just became a diamond. She's like 31 years old and she's only been in Nikan 3 years. She's 31, she's been in Nikan 3 years, she just hit diamond. And she reminded my daughter and my niece that I think the average time span is like 10 years to hit diamond. And I said, well, obviously she's not doing what the average people are doing. She did it in 3 years. And then, you hit a diamond, that's at least 100,000 in volume in terms of your organization. So, my daughters are like asking me these really interesting questions about the comp plan and the money side of this. And they want to know what's the potential. And I said, well, I don't know. I think the biggest check hasn't been written yet in Nikan. It could be to one of you guys. I said, well, let's take an example. Nikan said they want 10 million wellness homes by the year 2025. That's only 4 years away, not even. In order to do 10, I did a cost average of what an average wellness home would consist of in terms of volume, and it was very modest. So 10 million times that number. Then I said at 6%, I said, how many of the 10 million would you like to be responsible for? And they said half. I said, okay, half. That's 5 million. So 5 million times that number is this much volume. Nikan's comp plan is 6% on the CV. An estimate of the CV is about 60, 70% of that volume times 6%. That's about $9 million in income. Okay. That was their response.
Okay.
Oh, okay. Now, what would your response be?
Wow.
You see, they don't know what they don't know. And when they come to our calls, I hope you realize they're on track mentally to do what you've never done. So don't discourage that. Encourage that to do 10 times your best, because they can. How do I know they can? because we don't know how it can be done. We just know it can be done. The compensation plan just says if you did 5 million wellness homes in the next 4 years, you'd make over $9 million. So the question then is, how do we do 5 million wellness homes? Well, I'm sure none of us know the answer to that question because we haven't done it. But if Werner von Braun, who was, I think I told this story last time, Werner von Braun, who was the guy put in charge of NASA at the time of the Kennedy, when Kennedy wanted to put a man on the moon, he was asked, how do we do it? How do we put a man on the moon? Oh, no, he was asked, what will it take to put a man on the moon? And his response in no time flat was the will to do it. So when I talk about your goal, you know, imagine a check from Nikan 10 times bigger than the biggest one you've ever gotten. I'll tell you the biggest check I've ever gotten from Nikan, $303,000 for the month. Now, how many of you, your 10 times is smaller than that number? You see what I mean? It's doable. It's doable. So it's not a question of, can it be done? Of course it can. It's actually been done. It's a question of, are you ready to have it done for you? Are you ready to be the person through which the creative spirit can move and make this happen? And the thing is, you need to be the person who decides that. No one else can decide it for you. And then you need to be the person who operates according to the law faithfully, as if you have already achieved it. And the gradient between where you are at right now and where that number is at is huge. But I can bet anything, any time of the day or night, you would know if you're acting like this person or you're acting like this person. And so you have now more ability to discern how you're behaving, what you're thinking, what you're feeling, which gives you the power to shift. Now, the question is, how do I shift? Anybody want to know? How do I make the shift? I'm feeling like crap. I'm feeling sick. I got a cold. I'm lying in bed. My body aches. How am I supposed to feel like that person?
Visualization and thinking. Mhm.
You have the higher faculties. You're not going to go by your senses. Your senses are failing you right now. And you can't create anyway with your senses. Your senses are just there as the receivers of the paradigm unfolding, not of the creators of the paradigm. The paradigm doesn't start in the physical. It completes in the physical. So where is the source of the energy going in? Where's it going in? It goes in to the system. Where does it originate? Okay, so let's go.
Imagination.
Yeah, let's go back to this screen here, because this says it all. This tells us everything. So let me speed up here. Our senses over here. I see your hand up, Barb. I'll get to you in a second. Our senses are, we can see, we can hear, we can smell, we can taste, we can touch. Those are the senses that we're most familiar with. Those are the senses we've been indoctrinated into believing and thinking are real. But they are simply the things that allow us to perceive the physical manifestation. They don't allow us to perceive the non-physical manifestation. So if I said to you, I don't want you to imagine a pink elephant right now in front of you. Now I know with your eyes, you cannot see the pink elephant. You cannot hear it. You cannot smell it. You cannot taste it. You cannot touch it. But with your higher faculties, you can see it. You can actually imagine this thing. So you're not seeing with your eyes, you're seeing with your mind. And you have the ability to do that. And that's what makes it possible for you to create something you've never seen, touched, smelled, tasted, or I guess I got them all, or heard. So the power is in the imagination. It's in the higher faculties. So how do I snap out of my, I'm hearing, smelling, tasting, touching, and seeing my current reality, and I need to snap into my expected reality, even though it's really grand? What's the trick? What can I do? I'll tell you what I did. I had a tool. I created my own tool in order to get myself out of it. It was to move myself back into faith, because ultimately faith is the thing that short circuits the this problem I'm having. So how does faith go? Let me just fast forward here. Where are I? Here we go. Okay, so faith bypasses, circumvents my subconscious mind that's got me nailed to the floor in my current reality. Faith says, I don't know how. I can't possibly know how. I've not experienced that yet. I'm only experiencing the outcome in my mind. I haven't experienced how I got to that outcome. That's in the realm that's beyond me. So faith, by operating on faith, I bypass reality. You know, that word that we all use. Oh, you got to be realistic. Forget realistic. I bypass realistic and I go into the higher faculties of creation, the ability to imagine. Now, willpower is what I now need to engage. How do I switch from feeling funky and feeling down and feeling out of alignment? This is where I must exercise will. So now give yourself a tool. I had a tool. I had a goal card. And on my goal card, I had my goal written down in the affirmative, as though I have already received it. And it always starts with, I am so happy and grateful now that I am. So that moves me into the frequency of gratitude, because that's the only way to get out of misery. That's the only way to get out of depression. It's the flip of the switch. It goes into, what are you grateful for? And you can get out of a negative state of mind, out of any state of mind, if you can just exercise that switch. So on the back side of my card, I wrote faith of a mustard seed. That's why I'm so high on faith. I wrote faith of a mustard seed, because to me, that was the push of the button, the key that said, whoa, you don't have to know. You don't even have to believe. You just have to have faith of a mustard seed. Because what I believe is based on what I know. But this is beyond what I know. I just have to have faith in the unknown. In the unknown way, it's going to manifest. So I gave myself that trick. I would say it in my mind, faith of a mustard seed. It would be the thing that I would say to myself whenever I felt myself slip out of alignment. But again, if you don't feel yourself slip out of alignment, you're not going to catch yourself. Who knows how long you're going to be in that state of mind that's pushing against your creation. So the bigger the objective is for you, the easier it's going to be for you to catch yourself when you're out of alignment. Also, another tool you can do, especially if you're living with somebody, it's a lot easier. Give someone permission to be the guardian angel on your shoulder that whispers in your ear when you're out of alignment. Give somebody that tool, because again, you may not catch yourself, but they will. And the longer you are out of alignment, the longer you delay the manifestation. So you want to stay in alignment, and remember, 10 times. What would it be like to get a check 10 times the biggest check you've gotten from Nikan? How many of you do a happy dance? Maybe when you get off this call, you should do your happy dance. Barb, you have your hand up.
A couple of things, Michael. Sophia was very dynamic last Friday. And as you know, I made a comment about her presentation. When I got off from that, and after I had written you, I picked up Neville's book myself. and I opened it randomly to Awakened Imagination and read that chapter. But one that I open frequently is chapter 14, The Effortless Way, and read that. Now, I was part of Bob Proctor's presentation of a week or two ago, and I finally understood paradigms. And then I was part of HBM on Saturday, and Ben was talking about our life cycle plan, our vision boards. So I've started another one, but I had an idea in my mind of the kind of phrases I was looking for in a magazine or somewhere. And within an hour of me, there they were. The
You
first
froze for a second.
magazine
Within an hour of you, what?
Within an hour of me starting to do a new life cycle plan or vision board, I had specific phrases and ideas that I was looking for that I wanted on my board. The first magazine I looked in, I found them within an hour. Now, Bo mentioned on HBM that his vision board is in his bedroom and he looks at it every morning and he looks at it every evening. So I decided that I was going to implement that as a habit. Now, a course that I've been taking, the facilitator has been doing an exercise with us about our belief system. And when we're trying to achieve certain goals, and that she calls it the negative movie reel is playing in our minds. And so the discussion has been how to turn that movie reel off to get into the higher vibration, to be able to move forward. Sometimes it means backing away from the computer or whatever you're doing, grab the dog, go for a walk, listen to a podcast, and come back refreshed. But it's recognizing when that negative movie reel is going in your mind so that you can stop it before it becomes embedded and replace it with something positive.
Excellent.
So the last couple of weeks, all the topics have been coming together with the same purpose, the same basis, the same energy. It's almost been scary, but yet it's also been exciting. You know,
that's
it's
awesome.
different. It's a different vibration. And opening the book to Awakening Imagination after speaking with Sophia on that call, I thought, whoo, whoo, where was that coming from? You know, it was what I was supposed to read that particular moment.
Well, okay. So thank you. I think, again, as a tool, because this is really, I think, the most important thing is the application. If we understand and appreciate the law is the law, it's gravity, it works, then using it consciously becomes the most important thing you can do with your will. Gratitude statements, taking a walk in nature, by the way, the reason why that works, first of all, nature itself is a vibration. And it is a natural vibration that's at a higher frequency than disarray, disruption. So just by being in nature, you are subjecting your body physically to a frequency, and you're more likely to adapt. Just like that, we talked about water. When we put an intention in the water can be augmented by that intention. Well, when you submit yourself to an intention or the vibration of nature, you're augmenting the frequency yourself. When you use the Nikken magnets, that's how that works. Do you know that they have a natural frequency? They're nature. They're highly organized structure. They're magnetic. When you subject your body to a highly structured, organized frequency, then that frequency brings order to the chaos, puts your body in a state of balance. So what can you do? You just need to catch yourself. That's the first thing. And the best way to catch yourself is to become conscious of your objective. How do you become conscious of your objective? How do you become conscious? You have your gratitude statements. You make gratitude statements, affirmations about what it is that you want to experience in life. You read them aloud. You have your vision board. You surround yourself and constantly remind yourself of what it is that you are seeking. You're connecting to your desire, what it is that makes you happy. And when you fall out of that feeling of happiness, because you're not thinking about those things, when you fall out of that feeling of happiness, now catch yourself. Okay, how come I'm not feeling this way? What am I thinking? And then how do you trigger the snap? How do you snap yourself out of it? Well, take a walk, pull out your gratitude statements. If you're sick in bed, pull out your gratitude statements, close your eyes and start imagining the beach that you want to be on or whatever it is. These are the tools that you have the ability to use your willpower and your higher faculty of imagination to circumvent, to overcome the inertia of the physical reality. Everything that creates, all creative power starts in the mind. So you snap out of that frequency by reminding yourself of what it is that you are seeking, and then move into that spirit or that vibration with an affirmation of gratitude. Take a walk, subject yourself to the higher frequency. That's how you snap out of it. And again, if you've got help, it helps to have help. If you got somebody that you can trust, that you can call and just say, look, feeling a bit out of it. They'll say, if you give them the tools, they'll say, wait a second, let's take a step back from that. You said that this is what you want. How does it make you feel to have that? And then they can help you get back into the frequency. But this is it. It's really a question of it. You're seeing examples of this. Don Marie just gave us an example of how fast it can be. We've all experienced these coincidences, by the way. Every one of us have had that happen. You think of somebody and all of a sudden, yeah, there's Masuda's statement. You think of somebody and all of a sudden they phone you, or you have a connection with them in a day or less. We've all experienced this. And we invent words to describe these experiences as coincidence, luck. These are all inventions on our part because we don't understand the mechanism. But clearly there's a mechanism. And for those of us who've studied this, we know the mechanism is not even important. It's not even important. It's like saying nature. Yeah. Do I have to understand every intricacy of nature to appreciate nature? No, I appreciate nature. And it's way more complex than I could probably imagine. I just appreciate it. So the law that's operating, the invisible nature of this law that's operating behind the scenes is more complex than anything we can imagine. But I appreciate it, and I know it's always operating. So what part of it do I play? What role do I play in the manifestation? It's hosting the frequency, the conscious awareness of that thing that it is that I want to experience myself as. The longer I do that, and that's why, by the way, it's got to be hooked into your heart. It's got to be what you love. If you don't love it, you're just going to be fighting and fighting tooth and nail. You're going to be fighting against yourself. So why I started this with, what do you love? What is it that you're doing when you are feeling that frequency? Do more of it. And don't worry about whether it's not Nikken or not. I can promise you, if you have an objective in Nikken and you're always on the frequency of love, you're going to make that objective happen. You can't not. It's like trying to go against nature. It's just not going to happen because it's happening without you thinking about it. the feeling that you're on is going to attract to you whatever it is you put out. You put it out, you're on the vibration, it's going to come back. It's just the law. So spend more time doing what you love. Spend more time thinking about doing what you love. Feeling the feeling of doing what you love. You know what I've been doing lately? This is a new one for me. Taking walks. I've been just like, you know what? I don't care how cold it is, whatever. I need to be outside. I need to go for a walk. So I just go for a walk. Nothing special. Just look at the sky, look at the birds, catch something, whatever. Nothing important. Grab the mail, whatever. It's just a change in my routine and a connection with nature.
Mike, when I take my walks, I never carry my phone anymore because I don't want that interruption. I don't want that vibration. And everybody goes, oh, but you should listen. I have faith that if I go for a walk, I'll be fine. And I want to get away from the EMF. So.
Awesome. I just want everything for you. I want you to all have your own experience of this, where you have just like a knockout experience of this, where you know, and then you're unstoppable. Then it's just how much do you want to imagine? And if you can get even beyond yourself, what would you do with the check 10 times the size of your current check? You'd probably find other ways to make other people's lives improved. So that would be a good reason to have that kind of money coming in monthly, because you could then contribute to the lives of others. And that's another thing. Why don't we think about that? Why don't we think about that? We should be thinking about that. If you're a Nikan, you're a giver. If you're a Nikan, you're a giver. Well, maybe you ought to expand your perception of what it means to be a giver. And therefore become a flow or conduit through which that can happen. Maybe that's the only reason to tenfold your check. It's a good reason. It's going to work the same whether you twofold it or tenfold it. It's the same principle at work. It's exactly the same principle. What you're creating right now, exactly the same principle. You are manifesting what you're thinking about, what you're feeling about. Most people aren't really conscious of that. It's the unconscious mind that's actually operating. So I'm just saying, hey, let's go beyond that. Mrs. Kramer, you got your hand up. Last point, and we'll wrap it up. I see you got your hand up, Mrs. Kramer. Did you want to say something? Going once.
Yeah, I'm sorry, I had to unmute. We have here in the village where I live a pond, and it's running water. So it's frozen on the top, sort of. And when I walk by there in this icy cold weather, I stop to look at the mallard ducks and the all kinds of ducks swimming around in the icy water, like it's summertime. And I think, God, look what you did. Look what you did. It's amazing. And I love it. And by the way, one other thing, completely different subject. When I bought The Science of Getting Rich and The Science of Nikan by someone we know and love, you said that it's in the Science of Nikan. It had little timing things, and where on the CD.
Yes.
And you said that you would, if somebody would remind you, so I'm reminding you, that you would dig out those CDs and somehow make them available to us. So I think that would be an amazing thing for you.
I have to figure out how to maybe upload that on YouTube, but I will write it down and see if I can figure out how to do that. Thank you for the reminder.
You're welcome.
Fantastic. Well, I think we can wrap up tonight. I hope this has been helpful, and it's only good if you apply it. It only matters if you do something with it. And man, if you guys aren't, who's going to do it? If it's not you, who? I mean, you're already oriented, you're already wired a certain way. You would not be a Nikan if you weren't wired this way. So I'm just saying, hey, it's time to really multiply and magnify your intention and be a bigger impact in the world. Have a stronger footprint, a bigger footprint, a bigger impact. So I think we all need to do that. So who would you be? Who would you have to be a person generating 10 times the income you're generating now? How would you use that money? Start thinking about it. Remember, it starts by thinking about it. So start thinking about it. You have the means, you have the vehicle. How it's going to happen exactly, don't know, don't need to know. But what a trip going for it, right? Yeah, I'm with Bess. 2 thumbs. All right, everybody, have a great night. See you again next week. Cheers.
Thank you.
Thanks, Mike.
Mike.